What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get a city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get a city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get a city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1389 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. The Advantaged Investor Podcast from Raymond James Canada. Valuable perspective for Canadian investors who want to remain knowledgeable, informed, and focused on long-term success. Season 5 of Yes, We Are Open, an award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego, and Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today is a man making his second visit to the basement, Chris Murphy.
Hey.
And joining Chris is a man making his in-person Toronto Mic debut, Stephen Page. Welcome, Stephen. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having us. This is nice to not be virtual for once.
And as an expert of coming here, Stephen, watch your head.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chris learned the hard way, I'm sure. But Chris, I like that jacket you wore last time. Today you wore like a more boring jacket. But
what
you
did I wear last time?
It was like a cool, looked like a 70s high school jacket or something.
Oh, like a red leather jacket?
Yeah, like it just looked like it was like a collegiate jacket or a high school jacket.
You know what that was? It was my dad. My dad, as a kid in 1960 or something, won a football tournament of some kind of the smaller cities in PEI, and he had the patch but couldn't afford the jacket. But I've seen pictures of the jacket, and I saw a guy at a show and he had a red leather jacket, and I said, I'll trade you my jacket for that jacket, and he did. And then I sewed my dad's patch onto that.
That's amazing. That's like a loving tribute.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And then my dad, could barely fit into it, and then he's like, you should wear it.
In the Lovers in Dangerous Time video, I'm wearing my dad's football jacket from around the same time, about 1960, something like that. The Scarborough Rams jacket.
Okay, right on.
And then, but see, I didn't think about that. It had the patch and everything. Then the jacket got all ratty and fell apart. And what you should do, I have now learned, is remove the patches.
Patch,
and
yeah.
I think we just trashed the whole jacket.
Well, no disrespect to your current jacket, but I always...
It's terrible. And you know why I'm wearing this?
It's wonderfully terrible. But yeah, go tell the story.
Because I have some scratches on my legs. I sent pictures of it to I just got home. I was just away, and I just sent pictures to my wife. I was like, look at these scratches on my legs. And she said, those might be bed bugs. And so now when I got home, I had to throw everything that I was wearing into, she had like a robe in the mudroom, throw all of your stuff into garbage bags, throw the suitcase in the yard. And so
okay, because you were
basically I brought bed bugs to your house.
I think if I brought bed bugs home or scratches like that, I'd be divorced now. Like I don't even think there's any path back in the home.
I'm in hotels all the time. I don't know why my house isn't just a bed bug, but I don't think I've ever. Maybe I don't know. I get bites on me all the time from stuff.
I don't know why. Like I have giant scratches on my legs. And I'm just embarrassed. I'm embarrassed of what it could. It's like, does that mean I have a disgusting toenail? I don't want to talk about it much longer.
Oh, like the worst ad in the world when that ad with the guy who's got the infected toenail or whatever.
I can't talk about it. It's so gross. I'm sorry I mentioned it.
Yeah, that's about as bad as it gets for me. That's like.
Okay, we got some ground to cover here, and we're going to try to do it in an hour. I'm going to just do a little housekeeping off the top. One is that when I announced you two were coming on today, it was I said it's Trans-Canada Highwaymen Day on Toronto Mic'd. Ron Sexsmith wrote awesome. So Ron Sexsmith is excited, and when he's excited, I get excited.
Hey, Ron.
I love that guy.
What's not to love, right?
No, I love Ron too.
Yeah, Ron's a lovable guy.
Fantastic.
Speaking of people you may or may not love, but we'll find out now, is that I want to give some love to Tom Wilson.
He's my buddy too.
Also love Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
How can you not love Tom Wilson?
Well, there was so Tom Wilson.
I was always afraid of him.
Oh yeah, he's terrifying.
But
and then you realize he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's the greatest.
You realize he's a big cuddly teddy bear.
Yeah.
But Tom was at my event on Saturdays, so this was a big deal to me to have Tom Wilson there. I just saw Junk House like 2 weeks ago, and my event was TMLX 14. It was at Palma's Kitchen, so thank you to Palma's Kitchen for hosting us and for feeding us all. And Tom Wilson and Stephen Brunt came out, and a bunch of great people. I'm told almost 100 people showed up, and I learned from somebody who was there, Steve Cole, who said he just saw Tom Wilson open for Stephen Page. So you guys must have done some gigs together.
We did. We played at the Stephen Page Trio played at Kerner Hall back in the fall, and Tom, along with his son Thompson, opened for us. And then we did a song all together, his amazing Grand River song. It happened to be Truth and Reconciliation Day, and we were incredibly fortunate to be able to have Tom there to address the day from the stage. You know, it's one of those things. We had the gig booked, and it feels really strange to be doing a gig on a day like that without addressing it properly, and to have someone who's like, you know, who's of our generation, of our cohort in the music business, who also has such a compelling and poignant story to tell, and he's so good at telling it. We were just so lucky to have him there.
And I mean, man could read the phone book and you'd be enthralled, right?
I know, totally. And for a guy he carries that much kind of gravitas, but also is so hilarious too. I mean, it's kind of a perfect package. Yeah,
he's great. A lot of time for Tom Wilson, but I'm really excited. Like, so when this came together, they told me I was getting 2 of the 4 Trans-Canada Highwaymen, and I said, well, all 4 are great. I can't lose. But I was aware that, you know, I'd never met Stephen Page. So I was actually thinking, it'd be great if Stephen's one of these 2 people, because, you know, we've done a couple of Zooms, but we've never done an in-person.
Right.
And I was thinking, it has been a long time. Here, I took notes here. It was, let me get this right, April 2017 when Chris Murphy made his Toronto Mic debut. Like, that's over 6 years, 6.5 years ago, Chris. So do you still remember that? I
wouldn't have guessed. I do, but I would have guessed it was 3 years ago. But then you forget that the pandemic adds 3 years to everything you're trying to remember.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So what did I write at the time? I wrote, in this 229th episode, Mike chats with Chris Murphy about his 25 years with Sloan, which is now over 30.
You were already at 229 episodes by then.
Yeah.
But what do you know? How many?
1,389.
Amazing. I have never done 1,389 of anything.
I think you did that many live shows one year. I think.
Yeah, you're probably 1996.
1996. What else did we talk about? We talked about your new Trans-Canada Highwaymen project. So so I guess in April 2017, this thing was already a unit.
It was, but it was all different people. It was me and Neil Osborne and Tom and I don't know, Jim Cuddy
and Tom Cochran
and Alan Frew.
Exactly.
And we talked about Underwhelmed. I have a question for you, Chris. Did you ever hear? I put together a deep dive into Underwhelmed. Like, it's like an hour just about the song Underwhelmed. What? Did you ever hear that? Because your Instagram account did like it when I kind of tagged it on something, but I didn't know if you were just tagging people who liking things that tagged you.
That's probably what I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah, what is there to say? Well, the song's almost an hour long.
Well, I want you to listen. So if I can get a message to you with a link.
Okay, yeah, I do.
Okay, so everybody, what I'm trying to say here is if you want the A to Z of Chris Murphy, like the whole Sloan story, it's going to be in episode 229. That's sort of the takeaway here. And to turn the page, so to speak, April, see what I did there?
Nice.
April 2020. Stephen Page zoomed in from upstate New York, and that was episode 631. Mike chats with singer-songwriter Stephen Page about the Barenaked Ladies' origin story, his time with the band, going solo, touring with the Trans-Canada Highwaymen, reuniting with Barenaked Ladies at the Juno Awards, his new musical, which I have a question about, and his Zoom concerts, and much, much more. And that episode was like an hour and 14 minutes. So people can go back to episode 631 to get the A to Z of Stephen Page.
These stats are unbelievable. It's like this is how long it was. This is the episode. It's great.
Right. So, and this is all the housekeeping component.
I love it.
Chris.
Yeah.
How was the holiday train? I saw you were with one of your other super groups. You're in many super groups.
That's my plan D.
Anyway, gang.
Yeah, it was super fun. Yeah, it was great. I didn't know what to expect. And we were basically just the holiday train. It's a CP, or it's now called CPKC rail. And I didn't know what to expect. And you just playing to screaming kids, making them say, it's like, what is the name of that red-nosed reindeer? And they're like, I think, is it Randall? Is it Roger? And they're just losing their minds. And it's super fun. And then sometimes we were playing, it's just a half-hour show, and we would play sometimes 7 shows a day. And other than that, I would just eat cream-based meals that were force-fed.
Oh, that's wild.
Like just fish and cream,
yes,
beef and cream?
Yes, and I was trying to be smart. I like that, at the risk of being inappropriate, the Woody Allen movie called Bullets Over Broadway. There's a character in there who's trying to lose weight, and he starts the thing by saying, would you like something to eat? Would it be totally tiresome just to have some hot water and lemon? And of course, by the end of the movie, he's just gorging himself. And that was the story of my train. The Anyway Gang, by the way, is Sam Roberts, Menno Versteeg of Colorado fame, myself, and Dave Monks from Tokyo Police Club fame. And we have another, like, I was already in the Highwaymen, and then Menno was trying to put this thing together, and I was like, well, I kind of already do this. But
are you hedging your bets? Like, is this just like diversity, being like diversifying your portfolio?
I guess so. And it was fun to do, but I mean, nothing against that hang, but the Highwaymen's my favorite hang, and that includes with my Sloan band, which is my life's work and of which I'm proud. But the Highwaymen hang is it's pretty fun. I mean, it's low stakes, just buddies who are, it's pretty fun. Recording covers, there's not that much you can get into a fight about.
Well, we're going to play some Trans-Canada Highwaymen. This is from the Explosive Hits Volume 1, which is a very enjoyable listen. So we're gonna dive into it. There's going to be a lot of Trans-Canada Highwaymen talk here, but I got a question for Stephen now. Stephen, did you know in the last couple of weeks I have spoken with Mark Nathan,
awesome,
and Jason Priestley?
Wow.
So there was you came up quite a bit, as you can imagine. But
did either of them have nice things to say about me? I mean,
did I come up?
Both had. So Chris Murphy came up in neither, which was shocking actually. But the Mark Nathan episode was fascinating because it was like a con-can deep dive with some Marin Cadell.
It was a CanCon and a con-can deep dive.
Right, yeah. And he tells me he's still pretty good friends with you, and that he takes credit for introducing Barenaked Ladies to Seymour Stein at Sire Records. What say you, Stephen Page?
I say absolutely. I mean, I think Mark got less credit than he deserved at the beginning, because we had back then our manager Nigel Best had also played our tape to Seymour. So I think Nigel got a bunch of the credit, but Nigel was great too. Like he really was a huge believer in the band. And I think, the fact that we didn't end on great terms with Nigel is kind of like put him in the dustbin of history a little bit from VNL's perspective. But I look back on him as being a huge part of that band, and Mark, big time, absolutely, and always our number one booster. And then when I put the Vanity Project out in 2005, he bet the farm on that thing, and he put it out in the U.S. and he spent his life savings on that. And for
the folks at home and some of the folks here, who is this person?
So this guy's name's Mark Nathan, and so he was just on what episode number?
It's got to be 1380 something.
1380
last week. It was last week.
But he's a record company guy. He started in the record business as a teenager, working for Todd Rundgren.
Okay.
And has been in the business ever since. He's kind of semi-retired now, but he's always got something on the go. But he, at the time that we were getting signed, he took us to Sire Records, but he managed Marin Cadell at that point.
That's correct. Yeah. 1384 is that episode, and it's just a half an hour where he talks about kind of bringing Con-Can to the States and getting a hit record out of them with I Beg Your Pardon. Hearing the Sweater song by Marin Cadell and getting her signed. And then I guess he was on a panel here in Canada, because he's an American, Chris. And he said what should I be listening to from that you guys are listening to, but the States don't know about yet? And they go down the panel and everybody says Barenaked Ladies, and then the rest is history.
He's one of my best friends still.
What year was this and why wasn't I mentioned?
1991.
I guess it was a bit early. It was a bit early.
A little bit early. Pre Peppermint EP.
Yeah.
Mark, I still talk to Mark every day in some way because we send each other our wordles.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Every day I have a little text.
I like the way he tells a story. I enjoyed the chat, and you can hear it there. It's just last week, and the Jason Priestley chat was because he's in this Borye Psalming series, and he's promoting that. But I figured I got a half an hour of Jason Priestley. Like I figured anyone else would just do 90210, 90210. But I'm like, no, let me find out everything he did to help the Barenaked Ladies break in the United States, and we went through each step along the way from Peach Pit After Dark to the old apartment video and getting that on MTV. And yeah, it was awesome. And the documentary, of course.
He's great. I love Jason, and he was a huge help to us back then. But it was all because we were friends. I mean, he believed in the band, but we just really enjoyed spending time with him. I haven't seen him a lot over the last few years, but
he's in Nashville now.
Yeah, he's a Nashville guy, and I think looks like he's doing well.
He went country.
Everybody did. He's like Hootie.
Like Hootie. Let me play a song by Trans-Canada Highwaymen because I want to speak about the original singer of this jam.
Red and yellow seasons changing gear. Oh yeah, giving her all I am, reaching out with love and care. And she can feel it. Oh yeah, she doesn't even have to try. Going on forever. Oh yeah, knowing that's the reason why. She said tonight is a wonderful time to fall in love. Oh yeah, tonight is a wonderful time to fall in love. Let's fall in love.
So that's Craig Northey on lead vocals. That's from Explosive Hits Volume 1. We're going to hear a few jams from this new album by the Trans-Canada Highwaymen. We're going to find out why it exists. We got a lot of stuff to cover here, but this is an April Wine song, and I'm wondering, especially you, Chris, because you are from the Maritimes, and I would think April Wine, there are everything to a Maritimer, I would suspect.
Oh yeah, for sure. My cousins were really into April Wine and turned me on to them really early. When I worked in when I was in university at Dalhousie, I worked at the Victoria General Hospital, and a guy who worked in the Chemtech was Jim Henman, who was one of the original guys. It was like the Henman brothers and Miles. A lot of people think that April Wine is from Montreal. I think they were got big when they lived there, but they're really from Waverley, Nova Scotia. And Miles he's a songwriting machine. Like I would say that I want to say 20, at least 15 songs that I think that everyone either knows or should know. Like
top 40 Canadian hits.
And they had hits in the States too.
Sure.
Anyway, I love them. And then Patrick from Sloan, and did it sound like I was being disrespectful to Sloan guys? They're my brothers and I love them. Patrick and I in 1997, we saw April Wine in the West Island of Montreal, just at some bar. They were the loudest band I've ever seen. They had this weird thing that I had never seen before, which is a little on the mic stand. When they moved away from the stand, it would mute the mic.
Oh yeah,
like that's how loud they were. Anyway, they were great, and then we made it known that we were there. And then we got to meet the band, and they were all like goofballs, like in shorts and regular guys. And then we were told we were going to meet Miles, and we were led into a dark room where he's sitting at a table and he's candle lit. And we come over. Sloan, by the way, had also just recorded an April Wine song on this party record we had made. And so Miles holds up his ring, like kind of kissed the ring, and I was like, ha ha ha, and he did not break character. It's kind of
wow.
So he actually did present you his ring.
Yeah, and I kind of did sort of feign
that is a funny bit to do. Like,
and then he just went right into like, "Where's my money?" It's like, I don't know how much money.
That's not how it works.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know how much money, if any, they ever made from that. We didn't make any, but Anyway, Patrick was with me, and Patrick is a known curmudgeon, and he was so impressed at how much of a curmudgeon one could be. It was his
There's something to respect there.
his curmudgeonly influence.
Yep.
Anyway, that kind of is disrespectful to someone who just died. But
No, rest in peace, King. I think we all knew that he was. I think everybody knows that he was a curmudgeon. But he's lovable curmudgeon.
But he's a cool guitar player. He's a great singer, and the songs are great.
But okay, I spoke to him for like 90 minutes just 2 years ago, and I left that conversation definitely feeling like there's a little bitterness that they didn't get their dues. Like, he kept referring to the fact that they were kind of punished for being a maritime band that was based in Montreal, and he kept talking about how the Toronto-based bands seemed to win the Junos because they were golfing with the journalists, and they were hanging out with the press and everything. And he definitely felt like they should have won a Juno or 2 or 3 along the way, instead of what they did get, which was like a lifetime achievement thing in the 2000s. But they were nominated, but they didn't win any Junos along the way, and he seemed bitter about it.
Whenever I sulk similarly, my manager is when I say, how come we're not nominated for Rock Album of the Year?
Well, yeah.
And then our manager says, you're not in the music business. You're in the business of driving around picking up checks. And then I told that joke to Craig Northey, of Odds fame, and his joke was, so my joke ends, we're in the business of driving around picking up checks, and then he said, well, the Odds is just in the business of driving around.
Stephen,
anyway, the bitterness, I guess I get it, but whatever, they don't need Junos. They have the repertoire, like whatever, who cares?
And they got, it was a nice little tribute. They got to have the Walk of Fame right before Miles left
I
us.
was on the red. I don't know how it even came to be, but I applied to get on the red carpet, and I had a spot on the red carpet for this event. Miles didn't attend. I think he was unwell at that point, and I was looking forward to seeing Miles, and he was just not well enough to attend.
It's too bad.
But he did. Yeah, absolutely. They did get it this year, like just months ago. Just to promote tomorrow's episode, I was in the elevator with Alan Frew and Glass Tiger because they were being recognized at the same event. And Alan looked at me and he pointed at me and go, "You're the lasagna guy." Like, he just remembered that I gave him a lasagna. Chris, did I give you a lasagna?
Sure.
You don't remember?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe I didn't give you a lasagna. Anyways, I just want you to know I do have lasagnas for you guys in my freezer if you wish to.
Wow.
Sure. Wonderful.
All right. So there you go. That was my lasagna segue. But Stephen Page, any thoughts about
Have you had
Miles
Garfield
Goodwin?
on?
The world's biggest lasagna. And he hates Mondays, and today's a Monday, so forget about it.
Me too.
Stephen, any thoughts about Miles Davis? Miles Davis. Miles Davis also, or Miles Davis or Miles Goodwin, either or.
Well, both really are at the forefront of bebop, hard bop, and then into the way that they both turned it into fusion in the early 70s.
If
really.
peeing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
Billy Madison. I love that scene so much, and I quote that all the time.
And I saw a guy online made that into a T-shirt, and I reached out to him, and he sent me one for free.
That's nice.
That's amazing. I do drop that line of my kids. I got 4 kids, and all of them have got that line from me at one point.
Shout out to Double Wonderful, who sent me that beautiful T-shirt. Yeah.
You got the hang of it here. Okay. All right. Cathay writes in, no question, just a comment. Their album is easily one of the best of the year. That is you guys. Explosive Hits,
Thanks,
Volume 1. So fun and great driving music. And Stephen's show of the trio at Kerner Hall in September was amazing.
Well, thank you, Kathy. But thanks for coming to the show, and I hope you get to come to see one of the Highwaymen shows.
Is this Kathy, the cartoon character?
Yeah.
Let me see. That's Garfield, Kathy.
Yeah.
This is the anniversary.
This next one's from Mary Worth.
This is the anniversary of Ziggy came by. Ziggy from Much Music came by and kicked out the jams. And my first thought was Ziggy the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what is that a Simpson? Oh, Ziggy, will you ever win?
That's exactly right. That's from The Simpsons. Okay. So, Brian Dunn wants you to know, Stephen Page, that he's glad to see you and the 4-piece BNL legitimately enjoying themselves.
Thank you. It's all been Brian Dunn. That's what I call him.
Brian Dunn.
That's what I call him as of now. Brian, it's all been done.
I saw Brian on Saturday. He
Just
was
like Brian Dunn did.
Well, that's nice. I'm glad he's seeing that, because I think I don't know much about the other guys, but I know that I'm having a blast doing what I'm doing, and it's nice to know that enjoying
I
themselves.
see a
as well.
Look People record over there. Is there?
There's a little Kevin Hearn in the back there.
Kevin Hearn there. Yeah,
There he is.
Let's
Kevin
see
Hearn's on there. And Ian and Sylvia Tyson's son, Clay.
Yeah, Clay.
Is in
Oh,
that
really?
band. Yeah.
There's Kev.
There's Kevy, and then I know this guy. This is
Bob Scott.
Bob Scott, and then
Do you think
this
James B is famous?
James
This
B.
is the recurring question on Toronto Mike. Is James B famous?
He's famous to me.
I know who he is. Like, yeah.
I know who he is, but that's.
I mean, I've known. I mean, in my mind, everybody knows who he is.
Okay, so I'm with you. I think he's
actually,
famous.
here's the thing. Whenever I would see James B, he would say, he would say, because we had some conversation about, like, this would be in 1990. We had some conversation about This Beat Goes On, Switching to Glide by the Kings.
yeah.
And he would, like, every time he would see me, he'd, like, point at me and say, Switching to Glide. Well, now I can say Volume 2.
Oh, okay.
Because we can do it in Volume 2.
Well, it's I always
And then
kind
it'll come
of
first.
I always conflated switch and glide and that hitching a ride. You want to switch and a glide?
Yeah.
You want to? I always kind of conflated those things when I was little.
Let me play the theme if you don't mind, because this kind of gives us the origin story, and then we can fade it down, and then we could drill in a little bit.
Great.
I'll just sing over top of it.
Sing over top of it.
Sure.
This is the Trans-Canada Highwaymen theme, and it gives you the answer to the question you're wondering, which is like, how did this all come to be?
Are we talking the whole time? Is there? What do you think of the car sound at the
I
beginning?
think it's cool. Craig and I were on the road hoping my album would explode, but it didn't yet again. Got a call from Timberland with this idea for a band like some Camp Rock Highwaymen. He said he'd try to book a show for me and Chris and Craig and Mo. We can see what happens then. Just when things were looking bleak, look out, flavor of the week. I'm out playing with my friends on the Trans-Canada.
That is really well written. That's great lyrics.
So, Stephen, if you had hits on your solo album, there would be no Trans-Canada Highwaymen, is what you're suggesting.
Oh, thank God I haven't had a solo hit.
That's good.
That's it. Yep. That's exactly right.
I'm trying to suppress
this is
them
so
all
fun.
from being hits too. Yeah.
We don't want this to be. That's what I say every time I put a record out. I don't want this to be too big. I want this to be like a very niche thing.
Keeping it real.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite part of this song is the bridge where I say these dignified elder statesmen are far too famous to haul their own equipment. I know they're only doing it because they're some humble, down-to-earth Canadians.
No, it's all in here, the theme, how it all comes to be, but maybe we can pick at some of these threads here, pull at some of these threads. But is it quite simply, I know you were already working with Craig Northey, right?
Yeah, I've been working with Craig I've known Craig since 1992. I think I probably met Chris around the same time.
I met you guys.
Oh, I met
at
you
least
before that.
at that Coca thing.
Coca
in
conference.
91.
Yep.
I was in the band before Sloan. I might have been in Sloan at the same time and trying to impress upon you guys that I was also in this cool band because
Right.
the band that I was in was kind of like a roots rock band.
I remember because we were on the same showcase, whatever that night before.
And a lot of my, I come from a sort of punk background, and definitely there'd be a lot of people in my camp who would have thought of Barenaked Ladies were just like whatever, goofy or whatever, or not cool enough or whatever. But I remember,
weren't cool.
but I remember being really legitimately blown away when I saw you guys at the Flamingo or whatever.
Sure.
And in the big, I was like, it just really made Halifax look like amateur hour. Like it was so pro. And ends up with like Tyler jumping into the arms of the
Jim and Andy,
and
yep.
we were just like, oh my god, let's rehearse.
And the thing is, like, we were terrible at rehearsing. We just played so much. I hate rehearsing still, as you know.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I like snacking and I like talking.
So I like to think that you're like Stephen Page, not determined to get it right.
I'll get it right one of these days,
Yeah.
maybe partially. But yeah, how important is it to get it perfectly right? If somebody else in your band is going to get it right.
Quick aside, really quickly, Chris, this is on the live stream. We've got VP of No Sales. His real name is Tyler, who's listening live and said he knows the guy who played the kid who peed his pants in Billy Madison.
Really?
Like, I think that's wild.
Is it Tyler Stewart?
Checks out. No, but I think that's a fun little fact here. Now, I will say, personally speaking, as I have you both here in the basement and we're chatting, it's a thrill for me because I was massive fans of both your bands, Barenaked Ladies and Sloan. Like, they were absolutely monumental to me in the early 90s, and it's just wild to know that I'm going to see you guys on Wednesday night at Horseshoe Tavern.
Well, it's fun for me to be in the band too, because when I told you I saw the Barenaked Ladies come and kick everyone's ass in Halifax, but I also, I would have watched I'm an Adult Now on TV, and I get to play it at the show, and we play each other's songs. That the focus of the show is really that we play each other's songs and celebrate them and kind of suffer through our own songs. Like, oh, here's my song, but I get to play I'm an Adult Now. And then we've done this covers album kind of so that we can exist on streaming, because otherwise it's like, who are these guys? I guess they don't exist. And it was just so easy to do, and we did it during COVID and threw files around. It was fun to do, and it was fun to limit it to up to 75. Like this, there were a lot of songs we wanted to do after. I was like, no, like, we can do a couple volumes of this, so we have to end in 75.
I was going to ask, how did you guys decide? And maybe I'll start a song up here. Just get it going and bring her in the background. A Stephen Page ditty.
She's come undone. She didn't know what she was headed for. And when I found what she was headed for.
I worked at a food city for 5 years going to university, and this was the coolest song that would be played on the Muzak, was Undone by the Guess Who.
Well, the recording of the original is so good, and the drummer is so good and so jazzy, and I cannot do any of that kind of like double stroke roll that he can do. So I'm playing drums on this recording, and I'm doing my best. But Steven's doing a great job. I mean, he's a belter, and he can do Burton, he can do Andy Kim.
Burton is he's like one of the great voices of, and he still sounds great. Like, and so it for me is daunting to choose that. But this is the oldest song too. This is like where we're.
69.
It's 69 for this song, so this is the oldest song of the.
Well, how did you come up with the songs? Because I know you all take stabs at being the lead singer, because you're all four great singers. And how did you decide which songs you guys would play?
I don't think there was much arguing about it. We were already doing 11 You Ain't Easy by Pagliaro. We had already done that in our show, and so I was singing that, and I don't know.
I think we just started to make a list, and that's where, as Chris said, let's cap it off at 1975. And then I know I went and did some research just to make sure that everything actually charted, just so there actually could be hits that would have been on a KTEL record. Because quite often, especially if you're a fan of an artist, your instinct is to go with a deep cut, and we didn't want deep cuts. We wanted, like, even though I didn't know all the songs on this record, but.
Well, we did Carry Me by the Stampeders as opposed to Sweet City Woman.
Right.
Sweet City Woman, I didn't want to do, because even though that was a song I sang as a baby.
I mean, I love Sweet City Woman.
But the recording is so good, and it's banjo, and then it's just like.
I feel like it would be a joke if we did it.
I think so too.
I think a lot of this stuff, like if I'd done this record 20 years ago, it would all be about the kitsch of the songs and be kind of like ironic takes on them.
Can you turn it up right now, actually, right now? I just want to highlight the fact that this is Stephen playing the flute. I mean, some technology may have been used to make it worth.
I had to do some comping, a little bit of comping there. Like, for instance, I didn't bring my flute with me to this.
Right.
I didn't even know you were
show.
a flautist.
Well, I sat in the flute section in band in school. Didn't do much fluting.
And we missed the scatting section, so you'll be doing your scatting.
I'll definitely do some scatting.
Yeah.
So,
I also want to say about Carry Me that we mentioned briefly. I get to do a duet with Stephen. Like, we basically essentially doing a full-on duet. So to me, I wanted to highlight the fact that it's these different parts of your brain coming together in one sort of like CanCon Voltron. As Edmonton Journal, I forget who said that. So whatever, it's Chris from Sloan and Stephen Page, singing together this duet. I just thought that was. I wanted to make sure we.
Yeah, I think
highlighting that
it was really important with the mixes too. Craig did all the mixes, and you did such a great job of them. But I think what I think I always wanted was for people to be able to hear, oh, that's a voice I recognize. Oh, and those backup vocals there's Chris Murphy singing backups with Mo Berg singing the lead or whatever. I think that's exciting for me as a fan of.
There's Roy Orbison singing with Bob Dylan and
That's
George
right.
Harrison. I'm really good at this now. At this sort of syncopated bass. I practiced on the train.
Just be mine in your way. Just be mine in your way. Woo. Just be mine in your way. Loving you ain't so easy.
There's a we do Which Way You Goin', Billy. I sing that one. And I originally wanted to do, my idea originally was like, I didn't want to do Seasons in the Sun. It was too much, but like I wanted to do Where Evil Grows, but Craig had already kind of done that for a Kids in the Hall, A Death Comes to Town, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, we can't do that again.
So I think you made a good choice. And I've noticed on the Spotify, that one's getting the most streams right now, I think.
Really?
Yeah. That's the one
Which way you going, Billy?
Yeah, people are digging that one out. I think it's pretty impressive vocal performance from Chris on that record.
Which way you going, Billy? Can I go too? Which way you going, Billy?
The bass playing in all these old songs is insane.
Can I go
I played a lot of the bass.
I remember when I was making Page One album in like 2010. I did it with this producer John Fields, and I remember we were working on a song, and he said, "Do you want me to play this like an indie rocker or like Jesus Christ Superstar?" And it's like, "Oh, show me the difference." So he's just holding down the root for indie rock, and then Jesus Christ Superstar is like this. It's like playing lead bass.
Oh, I love the Jesus Christ Superstar bass player so much. It's my favorite.
So let me understand something here, gentlemen. So in 2 days' time, I will be at the Horseshoe Tavern to see you guys. What can I expect? And by the way, there's a full tour coming in like March 2024. You're going to go out west. You're going to end up back in Ontario again for April 2024. And then you'll do gigs in like Minette. Is that how you say it? Minette?
I guess so. I call it Muskoka.
Okay, Muskoka. St. Catharines, Sarnia, Burlington. That's close to here. Ottawa. But what's the breakdown? We're still going to hear songs that you guys wrote for your other bands, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, just making sure. So you're going to mix in some of these hit. Wait, I want to get the
way that you're mixing it in right now.
Explosive Hits Volume 1s. You're going to mix in some of these with your other band's music that you'll play together.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
amazing.
I want to make sure that basically the audience gets just bombarded with songs that they know. So like all of our hits, and then a sprinkling of CanCon classics.
We normally bring sort of 4.5 songs in per guy, and so it becomes, well, what do we cut? Do we cut? So I bring in, say, Underwhelmed, Coax Me, The Other Man, The Rest of My Life. Do you want to help me decide which one to cut? Because I don't know which one.
The Rest of My Life, I think you can cut. Do not cut Coax Me. Do not cut Underwhelmed. What was the other one?
The Other Man.
And what was the fourth one?
Rest of My Life.
Yeah, I think you got to cut The Rest of My Life. Of that four, like they're all four great, wonderful songs. But I personally would be devastated if Underwhelmed and Coax Me didn't get played.
All right. Okay.
I guess just process of elimination.
I stopped practicing Coax Me. I never started.
He stopped listening in 95.
I'm hoping I'm going to play. I want to play. I'm a big Andy Kim fan. He's been here a bunch of times.
He's our buddy.
And I want to play one more song that Stephen Page sings lead on your new album. And then I'm hoping that he nails, but he nails everything. Then I'm hoping I could play some songs from some Barenaked Ladies and Sloan songs that you two are behind, and maybe get you guys to react to it.
Sure.
A couple other little tricks I want. And here's my deal. I know I was told by somebody to keep it under an hour. It's going to be tough. But if you ever just tap your head, I will just start playing my closing theme and end this thing. Okay, so I will do my very, very best here. But here's the song I want to play, Andy Kim's. Woo!
What's that?
We got to do this one.
We are doing this one. You have a lot of singing to do.
Will Andy be at the Horseshoe Tavern on Wednesday?
I wish. I think I did talk to him about it. I think he flies to Calgary or something the next day, so I think it was going to be tight for him.
Yeah, he's doing his Christmas party, right? His Christmas event.
I might put pressure on him one more time.
Be nice to see him.
Be amazing.
Take it easy, don't you know that I have never been loved like this before?
How come no Gino Vanelli on Volume 1?
He's coming up.
Yeah.
Rock me slowly, take it easy, don't you know that I have never been loved like this before?
All right, I have questions. So this one is for Stephen Page. I recently saw the Subversives doc. This is a documentary directed by Simon Head, who was at TMLX14 on Saturday. Good to see you, Simon. This is a documentary about Lowest of the Low. It has your dad and your brother in it.
Awesome.
And there's a wild scene there where your dad's kind of talking about how
My dad's pretty wild.
his production company was responsible for producing the yellow tape that Barenaked Ladies had much success with, the famous yellow tape, and Shakespeare My Butt. And people started to think your dad had that magic ear, because this is two huge indie success stories in Canada back to back from Page Publications.
It was a pretty exciting time because it was like a whole new way of doing business. The fact that, like, you know, there had always been kind of an independent world, but the kind of the street level bands didn't have access to retailers across the country. It all started because we were making this yellow tape that we had made as a demo to take to South by Southwest with us, and we had extras and started selling them off the stage, and people started asking for them. Record stores started asking for them, so I couldn't afford to get them duplicated. So my dad said, "Well, why don't I do that, and I'll take a cut." And we were like, "Okay, fine." And it became such a big success that lots of other bands, particularly, Lowest of the Low, they had a huge hit with Shakespeare My Butt right afterwards. So it kind of just was the beginning of a whole new way of getting indie music into the stores.
I always said that I might have liked Lowest of the Low, but their record was called Shakespeare My Butt, so I was like, I can't listen to that.
Because of the word butt?
Yes.
Well, it's a ridiculous title. It's like the delta between excellence of album and horrific title of album is like massive chasm.
That's too bad.
With that.
Well, I just wrote to Ron Hawkins recently because someone was trying to get in touch with him, and I contacted him through Instagram. Anyway,
he was
he's a nice guy.
just here with Lawrence Nichols, I'd say 3 weeks ago. They got a new album out too, but it's just wild to see the Pages in this Subversives documentary.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
if you can get a link, I think Simon said you can get a link on like the 22nd of December. You can check that out.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and that's great to see. Great to see those guys are still putting new music out and playing. That's awesome. I did a show with them at Art Park in Lewiston, New York, a couple summers ago. That was fun.
Lanrick Bennett Jr. has a question for Chris Murphy.
Finally. What's Steven like?
Is Steven as pleasant as it appears to be from this distance? Okay. When is Feltworth coming back, and how did they not make it onto Yo Gabba Gabba? My 5-year-old Jack needs to know.
I don't know what that is. I've heard about that, but people have told me about that, but I don't know what that is.
So you really had, because when I heard the question, I just assumed, Chris is going to know exactly what we're talking about.
I've heard about it. Like, people have mentioned it to me before, but
About
I don't.
Feltworth?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a band, but not a thing you were.
No,
So you're not involved. You're not involved at all in Feltworth.
No, I keep hearing about it.
I think there's a.
He was just here. Oh no, that's Snuffleupagus. Sorry.
That was Pokeroo.
Yeah.
That's Pokeroo. No one saw Snuffleupagus when I was growing up. Like adults didn't see him, and then they realized that's a bad idea.
Yeah,
it's like
I can tell you something about Snuffleupagus.
Oh my God! Yes, please. It's my jam.
When we were on top of the world, when we were doing really well, we got invited to go to watch Sesame Street being filmed. It was Ed and his. I think he only had his daughter Hannah at the time, and I had my eldest Isaac, and we went to studios in Queens to watch them filming this. And, we're there, and there's 123 Sesame Street, like right there.
And just for context, I would have been in Halifax sending out mailers of CDs of like hardship posts. That's what I was instead
that's
of
what you're doing. And I had my kid, and we're going, and like there's Oscar the Grouch singing "I Love Trash" with some kids, and and Carol Spinney is holding Oscar the Grouch, and no one sees Carol Spinney. Like the kids are just staring right at the puppet. It's incredible. It's beautiful, moving. Matt Vogel, who now does a lot of those voices, was a fan of the band. That's so he had invited us to this. But I looked up in the rafters. You're not supposed to see any of the puppets when they're not inhabited by a puppeteer, because it's as if they're dead.
I understand.
Snuffleupagus was hanging up in the rafters. You just looked up, and there's this this giant.
It was
resting.
too big to hide. It's a very large.
You couldn't. It was so big.
Too big to fail.
Yeah, too big to fail.
like Enron.
But it was just like it was having a very, very, very peaceful time up in the rafters.
Right.
And I got to see that weird being just up there in the air.
My wife used to dance in Franklin the Turtle traveling show, and there were a lot of rules about that. Like, you can't be caught smoking or whatever.
That's Times Square. Franklin smokes,
just like out of his neck like a trach.
So Steve Cole writes in, turning the Anne Marie Stalker story, Robert Kyling, is that how you say the name? Kyling?
I don't know.
Okay, Kyling, into the Jam, Straw Hat, and Dirty Old Hank is a work of musical poetic genius. Every line of that song.
This is Murray McLaughlin?
No, so we had a song called it's about this guy who stalked Anne Murray.
Oh, okay.
And came from, we were talking about the story, and I remember Jim Cregan saying, you mean the farmer who likes Anne Murray? And it all of a sudden seemed a lot less sinister than it had before. He said, the farmer who likes Anne Murray. And I thought,
it sounds
that's
sweet,
an interesting way
right?
of looking at it.
Right.
I'm just a farmer. So I wrote this song, and we titled it "Straw Hat and Old Dirty Hank."
Oh,
Instead of as if his name was Hank.
I'm
but then Murray
that.
McLaughlin does play harmonica on the recording.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so he just says every line of that song could have been ripped from the news stories of the 70s, and Steve Cole's a big fan of it. Murray McLaughlin co-wrote a song with Tom Wilson called "Burned Out Car" that I absolutely love. It's got who's on the background vocals? Sarah McLachlan does background vocals.
Very nice.
"Burned Out Car," not "Burned Out Cow." That's a very different,
That's a great song though too.
That's a different song.
But I definitely want my high on my list for Volume 2 of Explosive Hits is "Whisper in Rain" by Murray McLaughlin.
I wanted to say "Purple Whisper in Rain." I wanted to do. I flirted with the idea of doing an Anne Murray song on Volume 1. Like I sang it I recorded myself singing it, but
Which song?
I forget. I did a couple. I think I did. What are those ones? Like "Put Your Hand in the Hand."
Yeah,
like,
I would see. I had intended to do "Hand in the Hand" as a mashup with "I Believe There's Nothing Stronger Than Our Love."
Right. Okay.
And then I forgot.
Right.
And then later I was like,
well, we could learn it. We could do it live.
Yes, we could do it live.
Yeah.
The bunch of people have a question about a cover that Barenaked Ladies did. So let me start it up here, and then we'll talk to mainly Stephen Page, but I'm also very interested in Chris Murphy's reaction, what he thought of this song. And then I have to play a clip that was very controversial in the TMU. That's the Toronto Mic'd universe. So let's start.
Oh, I know this one.
Have you heard this song, Chris?
I know it. Our joke about this was, do you know what a plover is?
No.
This is a bird.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's like plovers in an endangered this time. Like I thought they were like an endangered bird. I don't think they are. It's a lame
In fact,
joke.
there's probably too many of them. We should throw stones at them. All right, so everybody knows this cover of Bruce Colburn's "Lovers in a Dangerous Time."
Is this ultimately more popular than the original?
Yeah, I would think so. Bruce did not like it at first, and had said so in the press that he he said something about how.
What did he think of his giant check?
I think it changed his mind quite significantly. Because at first he was like, this just represents everything I hated about folk music in the 60s. Like
catchiness.
And then later, but a couple years later, we played in a festival with him in Boston, and he left a note on our bus apologizing for that.
Oh, okay.
And then I got to sing the song with him at the ACC for the the benefit they did post 9/11. What was it called?
I remember this one.
Music Without Borders, I think it was called. And I got to sing that with him there, which was pretty cool. And then we were supposed to do it with him at Live 8, but the show was running late, so we didn't.
So something good had to get cut there. Gord would like to know...
Live 8 is a mad fold-in for late.
That's right.
I would be interested in your reflections, Stephen, on this song in the B&L career arc. It was sort of a one-off or a tribute album that eclipsed everything else on that album and had a life of its own.
Oh, it was huge for us because it was also this came out. You know, it was an opportunity for us to make a video. I mean, it cost $5,000 or something to make this video, and it was on TV all the time. We had our yellow tape at the same time, but hadn't made a video for it. And
so this is pre-Gordon.
This is pre-Gordon. Okay. And the other thing is, this came out around the same time that the whole City Hall thing happened at New Year's.
June Rollins.
The June Rollins administration had removed us from their New Year's Eve programming, and that's kind of like. Forever, people would say to us, "Oh, that June Rollins really did you guys a favor. Eh? She made you famous." And we were like, "No, she didn't. We did it because of our quality of our music."
Right.
And then I realized later, no, totally it did because of that news event. We were on, Peter Ransbridge is talking about us on the National, and this video is playing in the background. We had something to play, so it was a huge gift to us to do this. It was just a big part. And then I remember.
Like your Bill Grundy show, do you know that?
Yes,
reference?
Exactly. So yeah, that was totally our Bill Grundy show, and we did even before we did Gordon, we were recording. We came into the studio to Reaction Studios to sing backups on Rheostatic's Whale Music album.
Yeah,
and we'd finished singing backups on California Dreamline, and then Neil Peart came in to play drums, this drum duet with Dave Clark, and we ended up sitting around in a circle playing percussion together, like us and the Rheostatics and Neil Peart playing percussion on the Rain, Rain, Rain.
For context, I think I was doing mail orders of the Threshermit Smart Bomb in Halifax.
We were kids. I was 21. Like this, it was like.
So was I. I was doing nothing. I was doing mail order.
But
you were hanging out
when
with
Neil
Peart.
walked into the studio, he said to me, "Oh, it's the happiest face on television," because I'm smiling through that whole video, which I haven't smiled as much in my whole life. But that's what he thought of me, and then he bought the pizza.
You smiled enough for a lifetime in that video.
Exactly. But he was happy to see me because he thought there's a happy young man, and then he paid for the pizza.
I got someone here who wants to ask a question for Chris. It's George Strombolopoulos. Hey, remember the time I called you down to my show because I was interviewing Neil Peart? Oh, yeah, I do remember, George. Thanks for that question. And then George was going to introduce me to Neil, but I was too nervous because I think Neil doesn't want to meet people. Because all I had to say was, "You're great," and he doesn't want to hear it.
Any regrets?
About not meeting Neil Peart?
Like that was your moment, man.
Yeah, but like I'm kind of glad I didn't. But
look what happened when you met Miles Goodwin. It could have gone to shit.
Yeah, but like that was kind of impressive too. But like I'm proud of Sloan and what we've done, and I joke that the only band that I bow to is Rush. To me, they're the number one Canadian band of all time.
Well, here's the other Neil thing. I only met him a few times, but one time I was out for dinner at a restaurant in Toronto and
frowning.
No,
I didn't recognize you.
Stop. But anyways, I went to pay, and they said, your meal's been taken care of.
Come off it.
Their meal's been taken care
Wow.
of. And Neil Peart walks out of the back room of the restaurant and bows at me.
Wow.
And then just leaves. Doesn't say anything. He paid for my supper.
So if you had met him, you could have got a free meal, maybe.
And that restaurant was Frank Vitteri's.
Wow.
No, it wasn't. It was nicer than that.
And you got
Story got better.
I'm trying to make some kind of joke where you got some kind of meal in 7-4 time or something, but I can't think of what it would be.
Chris was back in Halifax sending off
That's right.
hardship post CDs.
Stephen, what do you think?
Mucho doner.
Donaire corner.
I have a clip I'm going to play about Lovers in a Dangerous Time in a moment, but I wanted to hear some Chris Murphy.
Surely
and
there's
Sloan.
some Sloan in there somewhere.
What do you think of the song, Stephen?
I think it is. I think it's brilliant. It's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the good line. Check it out right here.
It's not the band I hate, it's their fans.
Chris must hate it. I have to sing harmonies on those lines.
That was great. Not the band I hate, it's their fans. I have to credit Jay for that's Jay's line. This is my song, but I stole that line from Jay, and he was talking about Kate Bush, and a lot of people have claimed that
She's not a band.
I know, but I think it's just
I think
the
there
idea.
is a perception that's the tragically hip.
They thought, or they had been told that was them.
Because as a hip fan, I can tell you the hip fan. Sorry,
No, I'm aware of that.
They sucked. Like
Right.
the hip fans sucked.
I understand,
Yeah.
but I, and then my final button on that thought is that once you cross over in any way, it applies to you. Like it applies to us.
Yeah, we thought
applies
it was
to
us
Sloan
too.
Yeah.
But what about Consolidated? They didn't cross over.
And they didn't do anything wrong. I literally used their name because it kind of rhymed with Concentrated OJ, and I thought of them as being something that was really intense, that could be like not watered down kind of thing. Something that was.
But it's actually Kate Bush. This is the.
It was about Kate Bush, and I think it was just like a guy in Jay's class that turned him off of Kate Bush's music because he was just such a fan, just drove him nuts. And I have similar people in my life. A guy who drove me nuts, and I couldn't like the Clash because he was just so over the top, and I was like, oh.
Who's Carly Simon singing about in "You're So Vain"?
I think it was Jay Ferguson, wasn't it?
I think it's Well, Jay Ferguson. Do you know that there's an artist from the '70s called Jay Ferguson?
Yeah. When Jay came over, I actually played the other Jay Ferguson.
Well, he may have told you the story that he sometimes gets notes from people like from so and so from Black Oak, Arkansas, thinking that he's the other Jay Ferguson. Like, remember that times we had? Yeah.
All right, Stephen.
Yep.
Here we go. 5 more Steven questions because you played a little bit of my song.
I'm just sort of like the reporter here, but I'm as big a fan of yours, Chris, as I am yours.
I'm just
Steve.
kidding.
Like,
I can chime in.
You only
I
knew
can
how
find
many
a way.
times I've seen Sloan more times than I've seen Barenaked Ladies, actually, to be quite honest with you. But there was great controversy in our little community here of the FOTMs, of which you both are FOTMs already, but now even more so. That's Friends of Toronto Mike. There was a FOTM KOTJ episode, which means listeners could record themselves for 30 to 90 seconds talking about a song that satisfied some kind of criteria. And the most recent criteria was terrible covers of songs you love. So the only rules were you had to love the original and hate the cover. Mm-hmm. This was the rule. So I'm going to play in its entirety Joe Louis, who I saw on Saturday. He came out to TMLX 14 at Palma's Kitchen. This is what he submitted, Stephen.
Hey Toronto Mike, Joe Louis here. The list of terrible covers is long and painful, but when I focused my search on the Canadian music scene, it was clear to me that there was no greater musical injustice than the one inflicted on Bruce Cockburn by the Barenaked Ladies with their trite, sappy, and wholly unconvincing rendition of Cockburn's Lovers in a Dangerous Time. BNL's attempt to kick at the darkness till it bleeds daylight doesn't even have the strength to kick over a broken sandwich board in Scarborough. And it goes from bad to worse. Just compare BNL's version to one of Cockburn's many stripped-down acoustic performances of the song. The ladies are rendered unlistenable. So, I've gone and slandered the Barenaked Ladies. All that's left to do is lock the doors and go to sleep with a knife. Brian Dunn should be here any moment now, looking for revenge.
Okay, so for the record, we all disagreed very passionately with this gentleman, but
Joe Louis, you made me cry. It hurt. Joe Louis.
Do we hear a rebuttal? Do you have
the rebuttal is
Twinkie on there?
everyone
you have
who heard
Loon
that
Moon on there.
There was outrage in the community because that's one of our favorite covers, and we all love "Lovers in a Dangerous Time" by Barenaked Ladies.
Yeah, we weren't thinking about him when we that guy when we made it. We were just thinking, what do we? But
He sounds so cool, though. He sounds.
I mean, I know it sounds like it hurt him too, and I feel bad for that. We just made it because when we made that song for that compilation record, at that time we were talking. The compilation records were a thing, and people often would choose kind of the artiest, deepest cuts, and we said, why don't we just choose the one that we knew from Much Music when we were growing up?
That's the one I knew.
So we chose that one. And
who did that? Who did the comp?
It was Intrepid Records.
They did another one. They did Joni Mitchell.
That's
one,
right.
We
You
were
did
on
Case
that
of You
one.
on that,
That's
right?
And we did an embarrassing grunge version of. Do we have a clip?
Oh, I thought it was fine. I liked it. I remember at the time liking it.
And it was recorded by a guy named Jamie Stewart, who I never could remember if he was in the Cult or the Cure, and it turns out it's the Cult.
Yeah.
But and the worst part about it was that there was no internet, and he corrected me when I said your devils and your deeds. He's like, no, it's your devils and your demons. I was like, oh my God, no, it is not. I know it's not. But there was no, but he was the producer. So, where did you find this? You find this in the garbage?
I need to hear it.
I'm gonna be humming that all night.
I got a lyric wrong in the Lovers and Haters song.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but I just like it anyways.
Yeah.
And
I think I said this fragrant skin rather than this vibrant skin.
Like listen to the snare.
The snare is ridiculous.
It's insane. We have a buddy who tours with us, and he had kind of long hair, but not super long, but sort of like a bob. And I have another buddy who was calling him. He said, "You look like the first grunge person, or you look like the missing link between hair metal and grunge kind of thing." And he's like, as if, or you look like the guy who. No, he said, "You look like the guy who engineered Pearl Jam 10." and he's like, he's like, oh, we'll get some killer snare reverb on this snare. And then everybody was like, it was so new and grunge. They were like, no, it can't be that. And it's like, well, what do you want it to be? He's like, we don't know yet. It's just inventing grunge. Anyway, that snare is so embarrassing, and whatever, it's fine. It's just embarrassing grunge. And I loved Joni Mitchell, and I wanted people to know that I also
and that's a great
her.
Joni Mitchell song.
It is, but like listen to me like humming, like it's just whatever. It's fine.
You can't leave your life without a couple of regrets here and there.
It's just so of the time, and like it's even more so than Smeared, our first record, which I was embarrassed of our first record for a couple of years because I just thought it was so au courant, and then was like, we have to make timeless music after that, and then that even more than Smeared is just like embarrassing. This song, like this kicks ass and everything. It's just way too long. But it's a joke factory.
It's 4.5 minutes or so, 4:37 or something.
4:40. Yeah, we have 2 songs on this record. 4:40. It's just like excruciatingly long. But this would have been a lyrics first song, which I don't write anymore. I have, and meaning the lyrics were done, and I just hung it on a tiny like 3-chord thing, and that's enough. Whereas now I'd be like 12 chords in the truth, and I gotta force a poem on this at the last minute.
Well, again, if you haven't heard my deep dive into this song, it is episode 1,310.
What's an example of a thing that you say? Like, look at this, listen to this joke.
You got to listen. You got to listen. So I based a lot of it on your original visit.
Yeah.
I'd also talked to Jay Ferguson about the song.
Yeah.
And then I did my own homework, and there's a couple of different versions. And bottom line is, I urge you to listen to 1310. That's the number, the magic number.
Do you have access to any music you want? You can just play it?
I have access to YouTube.
Okay. Well, this song was based on a song by the Minutemen called Political Song for Michael Jackson to sing, if you want to throw that on. But like maybe that's too esoteric for... Anyway, this song, the musically is just made up on the spot because I was at the age where I had journals full of poems, and I no longer do. But... It's just kind of like talk, but like it's kind of a 2-chord as opposed to. Not taking the big sin, your wrist change me hostage. Me, I'm fighting with my head. I'm not ambiguous. I must look like a dork. It's funny.
Okay. Amazing. Okay. So quickly back to the questions here because I don't know when you guys are going to tap your head.
What
It could
else
be
do
any
they want to know
moment
about
here.
Stephen?
I find it interesting that you, Mr. Murphy.
Yeah.
Yes, this is about you, Chris Murphy, not
Yay.
the senator, about you.
Right.
Okay. People wrongly assume you're a born and raised Halifax guy, but you've already mentioned you're born in PEI and then you spent time in Charlottesville, Virginia. So how much time did you spend in Charlottesville, Virginia?
Yeah, not much. I went from PEI.
He was the guy marching in 2017.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought you had the tiki lamps or whatever those were, the tiki lamps.
I don't.
You don't remember that?
I don't get the joke.
That was
yet.
the guys, the bad guys.
No, I don't know. I didn't know what that is.
Steven will tell you in the car on the.
It's a band.
Exactly. My dad went to the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. Like I was there for like a year and a half or 2 years or something like that.
Okay, well that's what we're getting the facts.
But
here.
I feel like a lot of words that I still would say route instead of route, or kind of some southern stuff. And I did the Pledge of Allegiance and all that baloney, and then I moved to Scarborough for 5 years, and I lived up kind of near where the Barenaked Ladies guys lived a little bit, or like the Myers brothers. And
Yeah,
those
you were
guys.
Agincourt land.
Yeah.
Near where my
Finch and
pal
Warden.
Jeff Pouncett grew up.
Yeah. And I would have gone to John A. McDonald, which is I think where the Myers brothers guys.
That's right,
went.
yeah.
I would have gone there, but I moved away in grade 5, and then I did grade 5 through to after university and beyond to 1997. So from basically 78 to 97 in Halifax.
I'm a big fan of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and I'm wondering what exactly did you do? Because I was reading about you being a music performance supervisor for that fine film.
Performance supervisor is correct. A lot of people were calling me because they thought I was the music supervisor, and they were wondering, how do I get my music into this movie? A question I also wondered. How do I get my music into this movie?
Right.
But I knew people that knew Edgar Wright, the director, and we met, and he asked me if it bothered me to see musicians not able to, not playing properly in movies. And I said, of course, that's, I would rather scratch my eyes out. And he said, oh, you have to work on this. But of course, a lot of the people he had already hired did not play at all. And I had an impossible job. I had to deal with one guy with no lines who was a bass player in a band, and he'd never held a bass. I was just like, get somebody else. Anyway, I wouldn't have done that because I didn't feel like I had that kind of power, but I did. But Nigel Godrich, the famous producer, was kind of in on that, and I had an audience with him, and he said, I looked at some of these dailies or some of these like practice videos, and it's like, they look terrible. And I was like, well, I'm dealing with people who don't know how to play. I'm spending a lot of time on this guy who doesn't have any lines, who doesn't know how to play. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to fire that guy. And he did. And then it looked like I did. And the guy just lives, I've seen him since, like he lives in Toronto.
And he gives you a stink eye when he sees you.
A little bit, yeah. But it was super fun, and my hands are in the movie as some stunt double guitar hands for Mark Webber's character.
It's a great movie.
It's great.
And it's very rewatchable. Like I've seen it like 20 times and I could watch it again.
Yeah, a lot of like my
for my eldest son, that's his comfort food movie. Totally.
Yeah, my teenage son loves it too.
It's unabashedly Toronto
friends.
too, which I quite like.
No, I'm so happy that I was able to do it, and I got to hang out with Michael Cera, who's the funniest guy. Who I just talk about Charles Grodin with him. Like it was a pretty fun hang.
Wow. Okay. And there's a character, young Neil, who was wearing a Sloan shirt.
That's right. Yeah, that makes it in there. Brian Lee O'Malley, who drew the comic on which the movie was based, was aware of a lot of Halifax indie rock stuff. Sloan, Plumtree, who had a song called Scott Pilgrim, which is based on a guy named Scott Ingram, who I also know. Like I know a lot of the kind of inside baseball stuff of that movie.
Amazing.
And the Gillis girls went to my church, went to St. Pius X.
My primary school was St. Pius X.
Oh, really? Nice.
Just a coincidence there. Okay.
May the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Lift up your hearts.
We lift them up to the Lord.
Let us give thanks to the Lord our God.
It is right to give him thanks and praise.
Father, all powerful and ever living.
But this fucking creeps me out. Like you have no idea because I can't unlearn it.
I know.
It's like ingrained as a kid. You can
I hate all
groom a
that
kid
stuff.
to believe anything.
Yeah, I hate all
and
that
it's
stuff.
stuck in there. And I'm a lapsed Catholic, a proud atheist, a happy
me
atheist.
too.
But it's stuck forever, and you just trigger it.
Yeah. But it's to
it's
me,
so
it's
creepy.
It's just comical. But whatever. It's not benign. It's awful.
It is terrible. Anyway, sorry you had to witness that, Stephen.
That's okay.
And happy Hanukkah to you, Stephen.
Now you told everybody I'm Jewish. Now I'm going to get the hate mail.
By the way, I feel awful. I do feel awful because I played that clip from Joe
Does
Louis.
Joe Louis
And then I
hate Jews
do
too?
think, Stephen, I do think he's not invited to TMLX if he does. Okay. But I do feel awful because I sensed that it hurt to hear him
I'm extrapolating.
trashing, even though we
I
all
think
love
he does.
that. We all love that cover. Hamilton Mike chimes in to say, please pass along how much I love that cover. It's not better. It's not worse. It's a completely different song and lovely take on an amazing song. And if anything actually lifts the original out of its very 80s style production and makes it now sound timeless. Anyway, so Hamilton Mike loves Lovers in a Dangerous Time by Barenaked Ladies.
The thing is, all I was leading to is we had no intention for that. We were just part of this record. We weren't thinking this is going to be, we didn't know that we're going to make a video of it. We didn't know it was going to be a single. Probably if they had asked us right out of the gate, we would have said no because we were so focused on what we were coming up with. So it's just fun for us. It's fun for me to kind of look back, and it seems so innocent, like it just the way that it speeds up like crazy, the way that the vocals are out of tune, like all that stuff is so charming to me now. But
And the
but
video,
also,
the video's charming.
yeah, the
It's
whole
great.
thing it was a great experience for us. But it doesn't have to be for everybody. And I do get a kick out
Stop
of.
apologizing for this moron.
Well, but I get a kick out of it. I'm also part of me is like, I think there would have been a time in my life when I would have been just as kind of like passionately against something musically,
Yeah.
and it's not in me anymore to even.
The hate ain't in you no more.
No, I mean, occasionally I will. When I hear "What's Up" by Four Non Blondes, I have to kind of like swallow it back down and be peaceful.
You guys didn't want to do like a cute little train beat country version of that?
I said, "Hey, no, we didn't."
Canada Kev goes way back with Barenaked Ladies, and he had a question.
Woo! Oh, that's speaking of tune. I woke up this morning and I felt sick. There's something inside me. Listen to my voice. How quiet it or high it is.
Something's gone wrong.
Something's gone wrong.
Mine too, in the early one.
I've got a bad headache.
And I've got the shakes. Listen to that voice.
Nothing seems to soothe this tummy ache. Can it be so? No, it can't be so.
Live at the Danforth Music Hall.
Has your voices come down? I guess something. Yeah.
Pages having a baby. Stephen Page is having a baby.
Canada Kev wants to know if you ever had that baby, Stephen Page.
Yeah, well, I have 3 kids of my own. I'm not telling you where they came out, but they,
To bring
you
the
know, they
world a
did.
daughter or maybe a son.
There's Joe Louis. I hate that baby.
So long as they're
Oh yeah, yeah. This was the B-side, I think, of Enid, maybe or something.
Call
But
him
it's
Gordon, and if it's a girl, I'll call her Gordon.
I just like the name Gordon. This came before the album.
Really?
That Gordon reference was what the album came from. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But this is an uncle of yours, or is it?
No, well, it's my dad's middle name. It's Gordon, but we just decided that Gordon was like kind of the quintessentially
Canadian name.
Canadian name.
It really is, actually. It really is. Steve Cole says he had tickets for opening night of Here's What It Takes at Stratford, but of course COVID threw a wrench into those plans. Will we see this musical surface in the future, either at Stratford or elsewhere?
I hope so. We're still in development with it because it kind of went away for a while, obviously because of pandemic. We were ready to open this musical in May of 2020. So it's a musical I wrote with Daniel McIver that was called Here's What It Takes then. It's now called Walker Roads. And my hope is that it will end up on stage at Stratford in the next couple of years. But it's back in development again, which is nice.
I want everybody listening to know that you can go to Trans-Canada Highwaymen.ca to find out the 2024 tour dates. There is one tour date this week. It's on Wednesday. It's sold out, though. It's at the Horseshoe Tavern. But you can grab tickets for Trans-Canada Highwaymen shows in 2024 across the country. And you should go to transcanadahighwaymen.ca to see dates and locations and to get your ticks.
And if you don't see your town, just be patient. We're going to add more.
I think it's amazing what you guys are up to. Very, very cool. Love it so much. And you guys are both great in your own right with your other, your trio, Stephen Page, and with Sloan. But you made a few jokes about Sloan. Will there still be Sloan in our future,
Yeah, man.
Chris Murphy?
I think we're going to try and get at her in January, February, do some writing and recording.
How do you decide who you're going to do what with? You got so many bands on the go.
I try not to push the Sloan guys too hard. Like, I would make a record every year if I could, but everybody's, people are dads, and Andrew likes to paint, and so I just, instead of driving myself crazy waiting and feeling like I have more energy to do things, I just inflict it on other people.
So one last question for you, Stephen Page, from Mark Weisblot.
Hey, Mark. Long time no hear.
But first, very briefly, I need to shout out a few sponsors here. So I mentioned that I got Palma Pasta for you guys. I have a wireless speaker, one for each of you. It is a quality Bluetooth wireless speaker, courtesy of Moneris.
Well, check that out.
Because with that speaker, you can listen to Season 5 of Yes, We Are Open, which is an award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego. He went out to the Maritimes and Newfoundland, and he collected stories from independent, small business owners and entrepreneurs, these inspiring stories, and he shares them on Season 5 of Yes, We Are Open.
Awesome.
So enjoy the speakers responsibly. Also, Ridley Funeral Home wants to give you the measuring tape.
Nice.
Oh, my God. That's a great piece of merch. The Undertaker's measuring tape.
Yeah. I need this. Are you sponsored by Joe Louis?
No, absolutely. I would not accept his sponsorship with his ridiculous take on
I forgot about him.
Canadian
forgot about
class.
that idiot.
Joe Louis. I used to enjoy eating Joe Louis.
The thing is about Joe Louis is he's gotten smaller and smaller over the years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
What's that called? Shrinkflation?
Something like
Is that
that.
what they call it? Okay.
In America, they call that Bidenomics.
It shrinks? Okay, Joe Louis is shrinking here. All right, and I do quickly.
He was just saying what he believed.
Sure, sorry.
I think I actually told him on Saturday.
I'm glad he had access to us.
He came on the mic on Saturday, and I told him Saturday at TMLX 14
that I'm going to make Stephen Page cry.
No, that I thought he was being a troll. Like, he's basically found a song we all collectively adore,
right?
And he's going to go at it, just to rile us up and get us all like. Arr!
Sometimes I meet people and they want to say something like, you guys used to be cool or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just some kind of, basically a way that they might think that they're not being sycophantic or that they might be remembered, whereas everything else would just be like,
can you sign this for my girlfriend? She really likes you guys. I don't see what the big deal is. But.
Yeah, I don't get it, but
her name's Joe Louis.
I like the Barenaked Ladies stuff before the Bruce Coburn cover.
Yeah, exactly.
One more podcast to tell you about.
Are those yellow tapes? Oh, sorry, you're in the middle of it.
No, I mean,
are those yellow tapes were there so many it was so successful that they're not rare now? Like, do you find one now and they cost like $100 or there's so many?
There was a time when they were actually $100 or whatever on eBay, and I think because of Discogs and eBay and whatever else, and probably just because it's not as hot a commodity now, I think they still sell for maybe $30, that kind of thing.
Andrew Ward wants to know, did you ever find out how many copies of the yellow tape you sold?
I think the official number was 85,000.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. By the way, that's higher than any Sloan record.
Really?
Still, to this
Seriously?
day. I mean, it's possible that One Chord Down There has sold more now, but I think of our commercial Apex as being 80,000.
Wow.
Yeah. It's possible it's sold more by now, but
right.
Canada Kev sold his yellow tape for $50 on eBay.
There you go, 50. That's a good deal because I think they cost, depending on where you bought them. If you bought it at a mall store, like a mall Send the Record band, you'd be paying $14 for it. But you bought it from us off the stage, maybe $8.
And it was the same both sides.
Yeah, 5 songs, same both sides.
Okay. The Advantaged Investor is the podcast you guys need for your investment needs.
Okay.
Chris Cooksey is the host. Whether you already work with a trusted financial advisor or currently manage your own investment plans, the Advantaged Investor provides the engaging wealth management information you value as you pursue your most important goals. And this is key for Chris, less so for Stephen, who I know lives in the United States right now. But Recycle My Electronics, Chris, is where you go if you have any old cables or devices or electronics that it needs to be thrown in the garbage. Don't throw it in the garbage. Go to recyclemyelectronics.ca. They'll tell you a place near you. You drop it off to be properly recycled so the chemicals do not end up in our landfill. And last but not least, I'm not sure, Stephen, I don't think you drink, do you?
I will have a drink occasionally, but not often.
And Chris, do you drink?
I do not.
You do not drink. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll send you home with some fresh craft beer. You might have a neighbor.
Well,
holiday season.
We have a Craig Northey and a Mo Berg.
Okay.
That's right.
And I'm sure I will. If I'm going to bring these home, if we're going to have a rehearsal tonight, I will have one of these with my friends.
So that's
They look so nice. I would feel bad opening one of these. It's like a piece of pop art.
Keep the cans. But I do have beer. So that's for one of you, and I have the equivalent around the curtain there for the other. You bring them home. I love Mo Berg, love Craig Northey. Mo actually let the cat out of the bag when I was talking to him on Toronto Mike a few months ago, and he mentioned there was going to be some music from Trans-Canada Highwaymen that we could stream soon, and I got very excited, and I loved what I heard. Congratulations to you guys on what I hear in Explosive Hits Volume 1. It sounds great.
Thanks very much for having us.
And I urge everybody again to go to transcanadahighwaymen.com and get tickets. They're going to Saskatchewan and Alberta and Manitoba, and then they're coming back to Ontario, and they'll be as close as Burlington. And if you're lucky enough to have tickets for Wednesday, I teased the Mark Weisblock question. This was for you, Steve. Can you sing about the Basil Box?
Well, now that I live in the United States, I have to call it the Basil Box.
Basil Box.
Have you noticed that from American television? They call it Basil.
Right.
I don't know. You know what? Did Mark see me walking today on the street? Because I think
This is not from today.
Because seriously, today we were crossing the street by the Horseshoe, and I saw the Basil Box, and I sang something about the Basil Box. So I thought maybe Mark Weisblatt happened to be walking past.
He's
me.
everywhere.
So yes, I can.
City
Will
TV.
I? No, not unless there's hard cash on the table.
This is Basil from Blue Rodeo at the Horseshoe?
No.
That's right. That's right. But do tell us, what is the Basil? Give us the reference. So
I don't know. It's just a restaurant. It's like a fast food place where they might have, like a rice noodle dish, maybe something else with some
A healthier choice.
Yeah, but it's like a stir fry of some sort. There's one right at Spadina and Queen, but I see them all over Canada, where it's like, where can we eat with my vegan and gluten-free celiac tour manager? Basil Box
Right.
in this, as Craig would call it, Puss World outdoor mall, Walmart kind of place in Victoria. That's where I'm eating at Basil Box.
Chris Murphy, thanks so much for returning, man. This was great.
Yeah. I'll see you next week. I'll come in with somebody else
I would love it.
that you want to talk to.
You're welcome anytime, buddy. Honestly, I will talk Sloan till your ears come off.
I'm just kidding. This is fun.
You're gonna have to make a third appearance though. And you, Stephen Page, this is our first time meeting, and I'm just so
Not our
tickled.
last.
It better not be our last. We'll finally get our photo together by the trees.
Excellent.
So, that'll be great. And that brings us to the end of our 1,389th show.
Congratulations on the show. It's doing really well.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
People.
Well, thanks for good people like you who come by and tolerate my ridiculous questions. So.
You're the Brock Lonahan, the Brian Lonahan of.
Well, that's Brian, but Brock's cool too.
I prefer Brock.
You know who gave me that was the Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted me to know that Brian would be proud of me.
That's good.
That's a nice.
Nice sentiment.
Yes.
How do you know this, is what you say. Brian Lyon.
Have you talked to a medium?
How did you know this? I went into the future and looked on your Wikipedia.
I went to the future. There's a thing called Wikipedia, and I read it there.
What scares you, Count Floyd? Incidentally, your face scares me.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Toronto Mike. Stephen Page is at Stephen Page. Stephen's got a V, not a PH. Chris Murphy's not on Twitter. Sloan is on Twitter. Trans-Canada Highwaymen are on Twitter. But you are on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram more. Yeah, I don't understand Twitter. It sounds like
What?
sad news there.
Yeah, you can just stick with Instagram. It's at least we have a place. And you're Sloan dude.
Yeah, man.
Love it. Okay. Much love to all who made this possible. That's Great Lakes Brewery. That's Palma Pasta. That's Raymond James Canada. That's Moneris. That's Recycle My Electronics and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all tomorrow when Alan Frew drops by to kick out the jams.
Places I better not name. And I've seen the sun go down on Sacré-Cœur.